Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. How are you, Jake?
I'm very well, yeah. Before you bring it up, I was a bit chilly, yes, Andy, and I put a nice jumper on.
As I put the jumper back on, it was summer in London for the last few days. I put the puffer jacket in the wardrobe upstairs. I was ready to go. That's it now. It's finished. But today it is cold again, and I went out without a jacket, without a jumper.
Unpack those boxes, unpack it.
I was in my
The winter
t-shirt.
wardrobe back.
Absolutely outrageous. It's freezing. So not quite there just yet. But yeah.
But let's say hello to all our regulars and new members as well, of course.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all virtually, of course.
This is which side are you? That side. This is Andy.
Yeah, this is Andy.
I'm Jake.
And this is Jake here, and we are your co-hosts for tonight's Pour and Sip extravaganza, let's say. Smoky extravaganza, possibly. So welcome to all you newcomers. If you've never been here before, if you've never been to one of these tastings, please try and get involved. Let us know your tasting notes. Let us know your questions. We're going to have 3 amazing guests set up for you. We've got 5 great whiskies we're all going to be trying. So just get involved. There's no stupid questions here. We ask any questions to our guests, and just any tasting note you can think of. Just try and get involved with us, and it will make this tasting much more fun than listening to me and Jake, basically.
I can't remember which distillery I was going around, but there was a big sign on the wall of one which said, like, "There's no such thing as a stupid question." I thought, yeah.
Though in fairness, everyone says that, but I do like to sometimes prove the point that there can be such a thing as a stupid question. But not tonight, not at Pour and Sit. There's no such thing as a stupid question here.
We have got Malcolm Tucker saying good evening all. We've got Jeffster saying hello, saying it's a bit chilly up here in Teddington.
That's near me. Teddington's near me. Who's that?
Oh, that was Jeffster. He's up in Teddington.
Oh, there you go. Near me.
Got Pexman, Dave Walcock, Peter Burrett, Kevin B, Nick Tarrant. Lots of people saying, "Yeah, good evening, hello."
Yeah.
Pexman's joining from Cyprus.
Oh, blimey! Okay.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I bet it's not cold there.
And Greg,
Pexman, are you on holiday? Because you're a regular. Are you on holiday? And you're choosing. You know, that is serious commitment. I think you might get a Pour and Sip reward for that one if I was in charge.
Special badge or something, yeah.
Badge or anything like that. Yeah.
Greg saying, lovely sunny evening for some drams, which I'm not sure he is in Cyprus, so that might be sarcasm.
I'm super excited about tonight, actually. All the drams are stuff I'm really looking forward to trying, and we've got a theme, have we not, for tonight, Jake?
Yeah, mate, it's kind of a Islay box. It's an Islay
box,
time of year.
Yes.
With the festival on coming up.
Yes.
But we're going to move through from kind of a lick of peat to...
That's what it says on the tasting note, isn't it?
A bit more peat, yeah.
Okay, fine. So we're going to work our way up in the peat scale. And hopefully, yeah, we'll whet your palate at the start for something. For those who may be undecided, I don't know about you guys. Let us know in the comments. Are you currently undecided on peated whiskey? Or is it something you just enjoy anyway? And you don't need to be converted because you love this stuff, like me and like Jake and like others here. But yeah, if you're a bit unsure and you haven't tried it before, I can guarantee you there is something in this box you're going to like.
For sure,
and
yeah.
If there's not,
it's Andy's fault.
I'm not going to make any promises again. I'm not in charge of these things. I can't If there's not, then I'll bite. No, it's my fault.
Jeff's just saying, Andy, if you're near Teddington, then we should check out the Grey Horse in Kingston sometime.
Grey Horse in Kingston. When I say I'm near Teddington, as in considering everyone's from all over the country, I'm in West London, and Southwest London is mildly close to me. I mean, I'm not in Teddington, but I've never heard of that. Is it a whiskey pub? In Kingston, right? Never heard of it.
Yeah, the Grey Horse. Yeah, let us know, Jeffster.
Let us know. Because yeah, that sounds good.
Hexman says that his wife forced him to join this evening, and yes, they are in Cyprus.
There you go. Wait, his wife forced him to join. I did not expect that to go that way. I was like, I thought he'd be like, I am doing Pour and Sip. I'm like, no, we're going out for dinner, Jeffster, Pexman. He's like, no, I'm watching Pour and Sip. He's like, can we go out for dinner? I really can't be bothered with Pour and Sip tonight. She's like, nope, you stay in, you watch Pour and Sip.
And then, yeah, just before we bring our first guest in, we've got like the range of excitement from like we've got Nick's looking forward to being converted to Islay.
Yeah, there you go.
Then we have Peter Ray, who's learning to love the peaty stuff. And then Ali, who's joining for the first time the first time he's been free for a few months. I was very much looking forward to an Islay tasting. So there you go.
There you go. That sounds pretty good. I suppose we better get on with it. I can't see the guests of this. I always get like I feel like I'm not driving tonight. And,
I've got the controls, haven't I? No, we'll bring in Jack.
Like I'm not driving. It feels like I want to press the button. It's not there for me. I can't see the guests backstage. I'm just backstage. Anyway, enough about that. Let's start.
Yeah, we have a lovely whiskey to start with. It just has a hint of Islay. So let's bring Jack in. He'll tell us all about
the order, by the way. Did we say the order?
Oh yeah, sure. We have the Thompson Brothers, the SRV 5 8-year-old blended malt is first. We're then going to the Bunnahabhain Toiteach agar. Nice and easy to say.
We did just go through that. He didn't know that off by eye. We literally just went through that backstage.
And then we will, we'll be tasting the Kilchoman, the cask strength Sinaic. So yeah, pretty excited about all three. Yeah,
all three. Yeah. And then 2 quick fire drams at the end. We'll start in with Bowmore first, or we're doing.
Not sure it matters, but
not sure it matters. We'll do.
Let's bring in Jack. People are sick of us already. Good evening, Jack.
Hello, gentlemen, and hello, everyone. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good. It's actually a beautiful day by Inverness standards today. So,
I must say, there's the sun beaming through your window as well. It seems, very nice. So we're speaking to you, and you're in Inverness.
In Inverness, yeah. So I work in Dornoch, live in Inverness, which is about an hour's drive. But
okay,
there's a distillery and there's some golf and there's a hotel. That's about it. So this keeps me, sane.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So this is your first time doing Pour and Sip. So for any of our listeners or viewers who aren't familiar with yourself, or also with the distillery we'll talk about later, but just talk to us a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself in your current role.
Cool. So I've been working in whiskey since I was about 21 years old in a variety of different bars in Glasgow and in Inverness, and migrated to wine for a bit, but on my way back to whiskey, I think after a while of selling it, I just realized I really wanted to make it. But it's quite a difficult thing to do in Scotland. It's quite competitive.
Yeah.
But I knew Phil and Simon, the brothers who own Dornoch Distillery, and I said, can I come work for free because I need something to put in my CV? And then COVID happened, and 2 years later, they said, do you want to come back for good? So I've been there for about 4 years now. So everyone, we'll get onto it later, but Dornoch is a very, very small distillery. So we all have to wear many hats at all times. But my primary role initially was warehouse manager, which then, through circumstance of where I was in the warehouse with all the stock, I became blender. But also I'm trained in the distillery. I do a bit of everything but sales. So some of what I say might be not too polished tonight, but
that's fine. We don't want to
correct.
We don't want a sales pitch. That is actually not what we want. We want to hear from the people who are hands-on with the distillery. So this is great. Actually, funny because I saw that when talking about the distillery, I think the founder said that we embrace inefficiency for flavour, and that's pretty cool. I like that concept. But you're saying how small it is and how, talk to us a little bit about the distillery, firstly.
Yeah, sure. So it started off as Phil and Simon's dream. They had run the Dornoch whiskey bar for a very long time. Too long, actually, considering their age. I think they started in there when they were about 16 or 17. And back then it was, whiskey we've seen a lot of change in whiskey recently, but in the early 2000s, up until 2008, 2010, whiskey was very seriously undervalued. So you could pick up a lot of great bottles for not a lot of money from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 80s. And that's what the brothers did, and that's what they turned their bar into. So this distillery was, born out of a love of old style Scotch from that period, probably specifically from the 1920s to the 1960s. In terms of process, nothing in the industry really changed because we had World War I, and then we had, America stopped drinking for a while, and then we had the Depression, then World War II, and then rations. But until the 60s, no one really had any money. So it's that kind of period that we look at, and that's what we try and emulate in our distillery. So we, yeah, as you say, inefficiency gives way to a lot of headaches, but also a lot of flavor, we think, and a lot of opportunity for flavor development. I think by every measurable parameter, we are the worst distillery in Scotland.
Yes.
Like undoubtedly. So our operating capacity, if we were to run it like a very modern distillery, we could probably produce about 30,000 liters of alcohol a year, but we currently produce about 10,000. So this is through only using sort of pre-1980s barley varieties, but kind of specifically, we kind of turn of the century is where we aim for barley varieties. Basically, after World War II, all food stuff just became very, very sweet. If it's apples or if it's pears or if it's barley, it's all just full of sugar after the war because everyone needed energy. And so we try and find that balance of less sugar, more sort of nitrogen in the barley, which gives way to more acids, which gives you a bit more balance. But you don't get as much sugar, so you don't get as much alcohol. We ferment for 7 days, open top fermentation. So again, that's a long time to ferment, and it's open top, so we're losing alcohol just through evaporation to the atmosphere. Because we don't put lids on anything, which we'll come on to with the blend later.
Okay.
We also only use spent brewer's yeast, so brewer yeast that has come direct from a brewery that has been used about 6 or 8 times, because that's how they used to do it. And then all our cut points are done by nose, and sometimes by taste, because, well, we're paying a distiller to be there, so we might as well use their nose.
Yeah.
I should say also, I think one thing that makes us quite a unique little team and distillery is every single member of staff, there's 8 of us, and that's the brothers all the way down. We're all ex-hospitality, and we all came from bars, and that drives a lot of how we work together, but it also drives a lot of the flavors that we're trying to create. And it's kind of it's at our heart.
Why did they?
Stressed, isn't it? Sorry, Andy. I think there's been a bit of a thread, I guess, through some of the whiskies we've had in recent months, Andy, of people looking back at older styles and whether that's barley varieties or yeasts I think one of the first people that I've really heard speaking passionately about all that stuff and old style whiskey as a thing was like Phil and Simon. Like they really were driving that agenda like from many years back, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Which now there are many people doing very exciting things, but they were definitely some of the first to talk about it, and then obviously put it into practice in what is a tiny distillery.
Yeah, it's frustratingly small at times, but we have a lot of fun. So
yeah, how many of you are there working on the team there, like on location at the distillery?
So there's Phil and Simon, who are currently bogged down with we're trying to build a new distillery. We're getting there.
Sorry, when was the opening date when you first started?
So we first started production. This will be in 2017.
In 2017.
So
okay.
Our oldest cask currently in our warehouse turns 8 in August.
Okay. And you've not released anything yet under as a single malt from the distillery yet?
No, we have. Yeah. We have. We released our first. It's 3 years old. Back in 2020.
Okay.
So our first sort of 100 casks were all crowdfunder casks. That's how we made it a thing. Phil and Simon sold their house, and then we crowdfunded like hell and sold a bunch of octaves. But when you make such a small quantity, it means it was a while until we cleared through all the crowdfunders and got our own whiskey.
Sure.
Still ours, but so yeah, they kept cask number 1, and then the next sort of 100 were all crowdfunders. Actually, they were adamant that they always wanted to be the first to release rather than crowdfunders. But one of the crowdfunders was starting to get a little bit antsy and threatened to bottle his cask. So we actually released cask number 1 under duress as an official bottling.
Okay.
But yeah, we've bottled quite a few since then. So 4, 5, 6. I think we've done a 7-year-old now. Okay.
So yeah, keep working up. Cool. So that's really interesting. What made them choose Dornoch? Did they have any ties to that distillery or?
Yeah. So their parents owned the castle hotel in Dornoch for about 25 years. They're hoteliers, so they moved up there or to the area in 2000, and yeah, that's how the boys ended up running a whiskey bar at a very young age.
Okay, yeah.
So the distillery itself is in the grounds of the castle. It's an old 18th century fire station, which is not much bigger than the room I'm in.
Okay, well, I'd really love to see it. Can people come up and see it yet, or is it?
So because of our size and because of the way we operate, but really legally because of our size, health and safety don't allow it. But if you're in Dornoch, the doors are open. It's on the street. You can see it.
We can't expect some kind of Macallan level visitor centre coming anytime soon.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's worth sort of Googling it and looking at some images.
Yeah,
They've got a lot of kit packed into a small space.
Sure.
Yeah, that's cool. It's awesome to hear. You were talking about, well, let's move on to what we're trying tonight.
Yeah.
So tonight we're trying an 8-year-old blended malt, the SRV5, which you've had quite a big part of, and you blended it yourself.
Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't in the team for long. It was about 6 months on the job, and it was a Christmas break. We shut down for 2 weeks at Christmas. Phil had the idea that we wanted to start making a blend because Dornoch we don't really blend with it. It's always single cask releases, but the goal has always been to build a second and larger distillery. So we wanted to blend because we wanted to learn how to blend and have fun with it, basically. So Phil sent us all home with some homework. 100 ml of Cleela, 100 ml of Clynelish, and 100 ml of Glenard, and asked us all to make a blend. And I think we went with mine. And then Phil and I tweaked it for a bit, and then we worked on it. And then, yeah, this is it. So basically, SRV5, which sounds like a Honda. It's not. It's basically, we're quite direct. And SRV5 stands for Station Road, which is where our bonded warehouse is. It's the address. And VAT 5. This is the 5th VAT that we installed in that warehouse.
Okay.
So essentially, this is the vessel that it's in. It's in a 1,200 litre European oak. What was going to be our 7th washback, and then we looked inside and we're like, no way can we fit another washback in here. So it became a blending vessel, but obviously it's oak, but it's out with the permittable size of a maturation vessel. So everything goes in there, it stops aging, the clock stops, but it's open top like our washbacks as well. And essentially the draw off point is about 400, a third up. So we never fully empty this vessel. So we've been doing it since January 2022. At that point, the vintage was 2013 stock was going in there. And we've kept it going since then. It's never been emptied. So the original recipe was 60% Glenard, 35 Clynelish, and 5% Cleela, but 5% Cleela goes a very long way. And I guess the idea is, we're always layering on top of it. It's, with every batch that we add on top, it's always consistent, but it just builds in complexity, we think. Or that's the idea anyway. And also, it's got so much input of so much oxygenation from this open top. So
you were talking about the open top. What's that with the open top fermentation? What's that added to this particular?
So
dram?
Basically a massive influx of oxygen, which just lets everything come together. It also means we do lose a lot of ABV to the atmosphere. So there's those inefficiencies again. But I was speaking, Simon and I were fortunate enough to be in Calvados 2 weeks ago visiting some producers, and one of the distillers I was speaking to was like, yeah, but we don't lose the bad stuff, do we?
Okay.
Sorry, we don't lose the good stuff. It's only the bad stuff we lose. Which is a nice way of putting it, because I've never thought about it that way. But we deal with losses all the time, and it's only the shit you don't want that's going.
That made you all feel better as well. Simon must have been like,
exactly.
Let's go with that one. Yeah.
Let's
go with that. Yeah, cool. Jake, what do the notes say? I mean, this for me is like super like green and zesty. It's the Kalila. Jake wrote, is it you who wrote it? But it's the lick of peats in this one. But it's definitely there, and it's definitely the longer it sits in my glass, the more it's coming quite more prominently on the nose.
Yeah,
so go on, Jake.
The taste notes are sort of starting to come in. I think everyone's sort of taking their time on letting it, open up nicely. Funny enough, Jeffster actually jumped straight in and, judging on like how the colours are going to go this evening, took a big swig, I think, and was like, "Oh, actually, no, that's 48.5%, isn't it?" So I took him back from the colour. But I love this. I mean, let's read out what other people have said to start with. Malcolm Tucker said, yes, very fruity, fruit cocktail of apples, pears, melon. Definitely get the melon. The slightest hint of smoke, as rare as papal smoke. Simon's vanilla and pear drops on the nose. Yes, we've got Claire's saying Dornoch is well worth a visit. We got every October for the festival. So that's cool. Jeff's just getting vanilla and pear drops, some sweetness on the nose. And yeah, he's just tried it with just a drop of water as well, which he says is bringing out a whole array of flavors. I mean, I like this. It's really bright. I had a little bit before earlier today, and ended up it's almost like an effervescent quality to it. It's so bright. I wrote down Lilton lemon sherbets because I was like trying to capture this kind of like almost.
What strikes out for me is the I love, and I'm assuming it's what the Clynelish gives it, but it's this kind of waxy nature that's in the mouthfeel for me, and that's kind of, I suppose, quite classic with having Clynelish in the blend.
I mean, it's such a fine blending constituent. Working with Clynelish is amazing, and we have quite a good relationship with Diageo, especially due to our proximity to Clynelish, being up in the North Islands. They're happy to support us and giving us Clynelish, which is great. So yeah, thank you, Diageo. But I mean, one thing I should add is the one thing that we had in the back of our minds is we all love highballs. I mean, Phil and Simon have been out to Japan quite a lot, and a lot of what we do on our independent bottling side is kind of taking a lot of inspiration from the Japanese independent bottlers and how they do it, and their wacky labels and the fun they have, and but also the drinking culture. And this, I guess, at its core, it's now become something else because of the way we blend it and the way it rests out in this vessel and the way we dilute it slowly. It's its own thing. But initially, it was meant to be consumed as a highball at ferocious speed. Like that's
pour and sip, ladies and gentlemen. A very different podcast if it was pour and sip at ferocious speeds. I get it. It's like I can absolutely like see that maybe, especially at a low ABV, this would be absolutely amazing in a highball. It's so bright, like you're saying, as well, and it's just I feel like it would really work in a highball. You
start to think of it in like a Japanese whiskey kind of way. It makes total sense. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Are there any other notes coming through, Jake? Are users enjoying this one?
No, that's most of them at the moment. I know.
And it's really nice. What's really important for you when you got this was a homework project essentially that's just come to fruition. So are you bottling all the other Thompson Brothers options as well? Have you blended some others yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, basically anything that we create, any of the blends I kind of have a hand in, either operationally or by virtue of design. But yeah, I guess the main one for me and the one that makes me pull my hair out every year is the Sutherland blend that we do, which is quite a limited release blend. I think last year we did about 1,500 bottles, aiming to grow it, but it's basically comprised of 80% thereabouts Clynelish and 20% Dornoch. And we found that adding Dornoch to Clynelish is like adding Clynelish to anything else, right? It just gives it that weight and that power.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I guess that might be my favorite thing to work on. But we've also just launched this last year as well, which is our
that was all over Instagram. That was
North Highland blended malt, which was just two really funky casks of Clynelish and Glenord that arrived, and I just thought, as much as I love SRV5, it's destined to be its own thing or its own blend. Because contractually as well, we're not allowed to release any of these malts as single malts. It has to be blended.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting you're saying about putting Dornoch distillery into these blends. Is there like a house style you're noticing of Dornoch that is kind of coming through that you could add and use it for a blend to do something to the blend?
Yeah, I think because of this, because we use these really high protein barley varieties, we do get a lot of weight and texture into our single malt. We get a lot of sort of, if you're into wine, maybe what you might describe as Brettanomyces flavors like horse blanket and wet hay. But we also get a lot of really overripe tropical fruit and funk. But for me, yeah, it's weight and it's loads of honey. I always get Manuka honey from any of our single malt.
Okay, interesting. Was that a style that they had in mind at the start? Or is it something that's kind of organically developed?
Yeah, I think basically, I mean, the production methods that we use at the distillery were kind of reverse engineered from tasting old malts and trying to figure out how they did that and looking at old books. But yeah, I think as with any distillery, until you build it and start producing, you have no idea what's going to come out of it. So we're happy with the way it's going, but it's still evolving and changing.
Yeah, that's cool. And what's anything else coming out anytime soon that's exciting to tell our viewers about?
On Monday we just launched this guy, which is our mystery malt.
Okay.
So basically, it's part of our independent bottling side of the company, but essentially, you don't know what's in it until you buy it and take off the cap, and then it's revealed. So this is a 16-year-old Altmore that I bought, or we all got given one today from work, which was quite nice. So we launched it on Monday, and it was hectic trying to plan this release because my warehouse was just full of bottles like this that I had no idea what they were.
Because there's like a dozen different options, right?
Yeah, I should really know this off the top of my head.
Something like that, yeah.
There's 16, I think, in this one.
Wow,
and,
yeah.
Wow, okay.
The youngest is a 4-year-old Lockleigh, there's 5-year-old Nucnean, but there's 28-year-old Ardmore, there's 29-year-old Speyside, there's Ardnamurchan, there's Dornoch, there's loads. And basically it's £65 a bottle, and the idea was that no matter what, it represents value. So if it's a single cask of a new age distillery, then it's it's still representing value. It's what's look at comparatively, what do they charge? And we found the response, we've worked a lot with new age distilleries for this project, and that's how we managed to get it out so cheap. Because they're willing to sell it to us for a reasonable price, because it's non-shelf competitive and it's good marketing for them, because you can basically trick someone into buying one of your bottles. They don't know what it is. So it's gone really well for us, and yeah, we're going to continue it.
That's such a cool concept as well.
It's kind of, the goal is, long gone are the days when you could walk into a whiskey shop and pick up a bottle that by no right should still be there, but you used to be able to find all kinds of stuff, especially in the north of Scotland. It was crazy. So yeah, it's just trying to bring a little bit of magic walking into a shop.
Yeah, that's an awesome project. Slightly conscious of time though, because we've got another 2 amazing guests, but thank you so much for talking to us about that. I absolutely love that jam. That was a really good start to the evening, I have to say, that one. So thank you very much for talking to us, Jack, and maybe we'll speak to you at the end.
Yes, see you at the end. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
It's kind of a perfect opener, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Really nice.
Yeah, we've had a few more comments come through. So where were we up to? Malcolm Tucker's getting shortbread drizzled with some plum compote, and a bit of chili cereal notes, banana, and that bit of peat. Really nice. Ali C's got Granny Smith skin, lemon zest on the nose. Yep, definitely. Moving into some sharp lemon drizzle cake and some shortbread again. Just that little bit of smoke in the background. Very finely balanced blend. Yeah, absolutely. Greg's adds a little bit of water, like Jeffster, and yeah, that's opened it up a lot for him. And I think David's done the same. He's getting some unctuous citrus and honey now. There's some lovely smoke coming through. Lovely sip for a spring evening. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ali says he's getting a fair bit of angel share from his glass. It all appears to have gone.
It's the open top glass policy, like the fermentation, same thing.
I missed a question for Jack. Baby we can ask him at the end. Jeff's is very interested about the stills and the washbacks at the distillery.
Is Jack still there? Just ask him back.
You bring him back in quickly? Yeah, he is there.
Yeah, with his, why ruin the flow? Yeah, Jack, last minute question.
Drag him back in. Yeah.
I was about to go to the toilet. I really needed that.
Yeah, we've got a member who's saying, can I have an idea about the stills and washbacks? Being a fairly new distillery, have you sourced old or gone for new?
Sure. So our stills, will start there. They were basically off the shelf. We started a new distillery with not a lot of money, so we just bought some Hogas from Portugal, and yeah, they've done us really well. So initially they were direct fired, but now they're electrical element heated, which these elements, and especially in the wash still give us that sort of heavy charring and gives a lot of this sort of Maillard flavors that people can keep talking about. And then so we charge that. It's a 1,000-liter wash still. We charge it with 800 liters, 850, and then we have a 500-liter spirit still, which we charge with about 300 liters of spirit of low wines. Our low wines and faint receiver, I think it's kind of similar to our vat. The draw off point sits higher than the bottom of the vat, so there's a lot of sort of pooling of low wines and aging of low wines, which gives us this really waxy texture as well. And then our washbacks, we have 6 Eastern European oak washbacks, and they're 1,200 liters.
Nice.
Jinx. That's right at the same time.
Anyone else want to answer a question quickly? Or just after he goes off screen? The question did come in beforehand. I was just too slow to get to it. Thank you, Jack. We'll see you in a bit.
Right. Cheers, guys.
Go to the toilet now.
Yeah.
You are relieved. Yeah. Very cool. I was thinking of a cool homework assignment as well, just so everyone gets sent home with some whiskey to blend. That's a cool homework assignment, isn't it?
I feel like that's just how they work, though. It's like
I know, but it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely cool. Yeah. Right. Shall we crack on with the next one? Let's bring in Declan. And here he is.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. Thank you. I've been eagerly waiting backstage.
Backstage.
It said I'm backstage. So
backstage.
I love the setup.
We feed them all with blue M&Ms specifically and sandwiches.
Was that a rider? I should have requested a rider.
Coconut water as well. Declan was making sure we had coconut water backstage for the rider. Absolute diva.
That's me.
Yeah. So welcome, Declan. And for anyone who's not met Declan yet, do you want to talk to us a little bit about yourself firstly and how you got into the industry and your current role that you're doing?
Yeah, sure. If people care about me and not the whiskey, but
of course.
I kind of fell in love with whiskey through Deanston Distillery. So for anyone that doesn't know, I work for CVH Spirits, we own Bunnahabhain, Deanston, and Tobermory. So actually, probably over 10 years ago now, I was a tour guide at Deanston Distillery. And I didn't know anything about whiskey. I was a chef at the time. I've always loved food and drink and flavor, so that's how I kind of tie the things I've done in my past together. But I was a chef, and I didn't want to do that anymore, and I got a job as a tour guide. So this, like I say, was over a decade ago, and it was Burn Stewart Distillers back then, and we've changed names a few times. It was Distell, and now it's CVH. But it's usually easier just to tell people I work for Bunnahabhain because most people don't know what I'm talking about if I say CVH. But no, so I was a tour guide, and I just fell in love with the whiskey at that point. Obviously, working in the distillery around all the guys there. And I know we're not talking about Deanston tonight, but that's how I got into it and how I fell in love with whiskey and these brands. After that, I worked a little bit in different breweries. I worked for Tennent's, so Scottish, and then I worked for Carling, so kind of on opposite sides. And I was in kind of sales and business development stuff. But then after that, I worked for some whiskey retailers, and I subsequently came sort of full circle back to CVH. And it was kind of I love these brands and they're close to my heart, obviously, because it's Deanston's where I'm from, and it's how I got into whiskey in the first place. So I'm in sales now, so I'm an account manager. So I sell into specialist retail. But like Jack was saying, not being a salesperson, I don't like to think of myself as a typical salesy person, because like I say, this comes from kind of like a passion for whiskey. So hopefully I don't come across as that kind of salesperson.
In fairness, I think that's like the roster of brands like in Tobermory, Deanston, and Bunnahabhain. That's pretty A-team, that's pretty Premier.
Yeah, no, I feel so lucky. Like when I'm at shows and events across the UK and Europe, and I just feel really proud to showcase these brands, because I really believe in them, and I believe in what they're based, how they're based, and it kind of runs some of the themes and the ways of production, and it kind of runs throughout the 3 distilleries. There's a real connection there between the brands, and it's awesome. You kind of feel a bit spoiled having so many. Embarrassingly, I don't have a full bottle of the one we're tasting tonight. I thought I did, but I've put some other ones that we've got up there. So I've just we're all even here. I've got my wee bottle.
That's okay. We're all even here. So talk to us a little bit about Bunnahabhain. It's kind of cool history. Goes back to 1880.
Yeah. So obviously it's much older. One of our older brands. Deanston's a bit newer, and then Tobermory is also very, very old. But Bunnahabhain is from 1881. It's the northern part of Islay. It was always accessible by boat. Now it's accessible by a single track road, and it kind of blows my mind how these folk in lorries drive all the casks up and down this tiny single track road. And if anyone on the call has ever been to our festival day during the Fishila, you'll get people stuck in the ditches, and the guys in the distillery have to go and pull them out of the ditches. And it's pretty incredible, the access and getting all the whiskey out of the distillery and sent over to the mainland and so on. But so Bunnahabhain, I guess the first thing I always like to talk about is how you say it, because most people maybe struggle a little bit. Especially the whiskies that we have, there's a number of Scots Gaelic words that make up our portfolio, which makes it quite fun and interesting. Bunnahabhain, it means mouth of the river. So you've got Bunna and you've got Avon. Avon is river, so it's at the river, the mouth of the river Margadale. So that's our water source. And we've got there's a marketing campaign we had recently called Hard to Say, Easy to Love. Mm-hmm. So don't want to get that mixed up. Hard to love, easy to say. Yeah.
Hard to love, easy to say. Worst thing.
Hard to say, easy to love. So yeah, lots of the locals will say Bunnahabhain. I think Andrew, our distillery manager, says Bunnahabhain, and then some people will say Bunnahabhain or Bunnahabhain, but the BH is a V. And I guess the one we're tasting tonight, Toiteach, that's a little bit harder to say than Bunnahabhain, but so
cool.
And I guess.
Yeah, that's a whole new campaign to get people to say that correctly.
It's easier just to say Bunna. I mean, I usually call it Bunna.
I get it. But it's typically been noted for its unpeated style on Islay. What was the thinking behind that kind of historically?
Yeah, so I guess it was more of back in the day, starting at Bunnahabhain, it was all predominantly peated or Moynia spirit, and then moving away to that, during the late 20th century, it was. Even more so now, we're more focusing on the unpeated spirit. So we still make both. Obviously, you've got the peated spirit tonight, but it's just kind of a focus on having, just standing out on Islay, because I think the thing that people first think is that I don't like Islay whiskey because I don't like peaty, mm-hmm. And I know that's usually my line I say when I've got the portfolio in front of me. It doesn't really stand true tonight because it is a peaty one we have, but. Yeah, we kind of differentiate ourselves on Islay because we are the unpeated Islay. Mm-hmm. There are a couple other ones that are doing unpeated spirits as well, but we're really focused on that. And there's a lot of peated spirit too, but you're going to see that more in kind of limited editions at the distillery, and then in like some of our core range, giving people the option there because people still love Bunnahabhain for the peat. There's like a big market there for smoky whiskies. So.
But historically, but and also like it's the location wise, it's right on the north coast of Islay. Does the location have a say and shape its identity at all, and in flavor profiles and the style?
I guess more so in terms of the distillery itself. there's a few points that differentiate the spirit. I mean, we have the tallest stills in Islay, mm-hmm. So you're going to get obviously a bit more reflux from that. You're going to get a lighter spirit. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a character of that's a big character of Bunnahabhain is it's a little bit lighter. Obviously, we actually half charge the stills as well, so they are like big stills that we half charge, which means you're getting a lot more copper contact. It's pulling a lot of those sulfurs out the spirit. So it kind of differentiates it again in terms of the pure spirit. The new make, it differentiates itself from the rest of Islay as well. So not just the fact that it's unpeated or peated, but the actual new make is differentiates.
Yeah, that's great. So pronunciation again for this before I say it again is
Toiteach aga.
Toiteach aga.
But it doesn't. I mean, you could say Toiteach ada, but Toiteach aga.
Okay, I just feel like as soon as I say it, I sound like I'm really drunk. I'm not. I just sound.
Well, I've not had my dinner tonight, and I'm sipping away. So maybe I should have ate something before. But
ferociously sipping, as Jack put it, as or whatever it was.
No, there's like a real kind of resurgence of Scots Gaelic amongst younger people in Scotland, which is amazing. And sometimes I think it would be kind of handy when we're talking to people in Germany or Sweden or wherever it is that we're talking about these whiskies. It might be handy to not have such difficult names to pronounce. But then I'm like, no, I love that history, and that goes right throughout the history of Bunnahabhain and these Gaelic names and islanders who speak Gaelic as their first language. You go over more so to the Outer Hebrides, but if you go across there, you'll just hear conversations in Gaelic everywhere you go, and it's it really fills me with pride. So it is a little bit tricky to say, but it means the smoky two. So Toiteach aga means smoky two, guys two,
as in two, for
like number two.
Yeah. Okay. Why is that?
Well, there was initial release of Toiteach, and then this was
this is number two.
Yeah, so it kind of became our core range, part of our core range. And again, there's lots of different words for peat or smoky. You've got Monya, which is our spirit, Cruach Fona, which is peat stack. There's lots of different ways that you can sort of say smoky or peaty. Or
what would the Smoky 3 be called?
Oh, I don't know. You're testing me now. I don't speak Gaelic. That's my excuse. I need to do my numbers, though. That's probably pretty embarrassing if I can't count to 10. So, that's my homework. If anyone in the chat knows.
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about the dram that we're trying tonight.
Yeah, sure.
So we've added a little bit of peat into the mix here.
Yeah, so... we were talking earlier, starting with Jack, going through, you'll have Kilchoman after this, maybe in terms of peatiness. Our peated spirit runs around 35 to 40 ppm. The thing that's quite interesting about this one is, for a start, a lot of people will say, how old is it? It's always a tricky one with non-age statements. So this one it averages out around 5 years old. Obviously, that's not something we kind of talk about too often, but, if there's people that really want to know kind of, I have been chatting with Julianne Fernandez, who's our master blender, and, She actually from Glasgow. I'm in Glasgow just now, so she's from not too far from here as well. Even though her name sounds quite Spanish, but she's just such a lovely person and such a talent, and obviously a pioneer for women in whiskey as well. But she gave me a little bit of information about this one. So just in terms of it being the cask makeup as well. So there is 10%. There's around 10% of this that's unpeated Bunnahabhain. So 90% is actually peated with that extra little 10%. People might see there's our Monya release. There's a release called Monya, which is in Europe. You'll see it across different places in Europe. But that's actually a little bit peatier than this because that's all our Monya spirit, whereas this has got that 10% unpeated Bunnahabhain. So obviously with Bunnahabhain, the characteristic is heavily sherried. We use a lot of Oloroso. Around 50% of these casks that make up the Toiteach aga are Oloroso, and we've got some American oak bourbon influences in there as well. So I think when I drink this one, it really rings true the kind of the base character of Bunnahabhain, which is that rich, slightly oily, sherried dram. And once you keep sipping on this, the sweetness just comes through. It's quite peppery on the palate. And it's funny because I always say that I predominantly don't like peated whiskies as much as I like unpeated whiskies. But every time I drink either our Leipzig or Bunnahabhain, I keep sipping it, and it really releases the flavors. Like I start to think that actually I do really like peated whiskey.
Leipzig, in fairness, is a really strange peat, though. When I drink it, it's different to this. I always find with Leipzig, it's like this very much smoked barbecue meat kind of.
Exactly, yeah. We kind of talk about kind of like a beach. I like to call it like a beach bonfire. Whereas with that kind of with the Islay spirits and with Bunnahabhain, you've got that a little bit more earthy. You know, some people that hate peat will maybe call it maybe medicinal or TCP or any of these kind of things. But no, it's got, because of that little 10% there, that's the unpeated spirit, it just takes the edge off, especially if you're getting into smoky whiskies. But as I drink this, I'm kind of thinking, you know, this might be a great one to introduce people to peated whiskies, because it's not like blowing your head off peat. Another thing to mention about our whiskies is that everything is non-chill filtered. So I know it's a big thing in the world of whiskey, is sort of transparency on that, and you'll see that across our range. So we don't chill filter. And I know you'd said that there's going to be people of all different levels on the call. So if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, in the industry, a lot of brands will chill filter the whiskey. We choose not to do that. So what that means is that, see, if I take a bottle of this out of the boot of my car in winter when I'm going to a show, or if you put an ice cube in it, it's going to solidify all those oils, those natural esters and oils that come from the distillation in the wood, and it'll go cloudy and a little bit hazy. So that gives you texture, it gives you mouthfeel, it's carriers of flavour. So we choose not to chill filter the whiskey. It does mean that it's going to not be so consistent in terms of its colour clearness. And also we don't, in terms of colour, we don't add colour as well. So what you see is what you get. I mean, you might think of sherry and you think, oh, nice red, dark red, but that's not always the case. You know, different kinds of casks, wines, sherries, you're going to get different kinds of colours, and that is the way that it comes out of the cask, is the colour you see. So that runs across the board for all of our portfolio. We don't chill filter, we don't add colour. And also, this is 46.3%. And so that's quite an iconic ABV for us. I mean, it's been that way since I've ever known the company, and yeah, that's what we believe is the best strength to drink this spirit at. And yeah, we obviously do a lot of cask strength stuff and higher chosen strength as well. But I think 46 is a really nice strength because, well, not only it's relating to the non-chill filtration, because you have to bottle it above 46, but then also it just adds you can add a little bit of water because of it. So I usually use a little pipette, which is a little bit fancy, but you can quickly run it under the tap, or a teaspoon of water in a glass. But it really takes water well as well. So if there's anyone sitting with a bit of water next to you, you can dip your finger in the water and get a few drops in your glass.
Just remember,
that's my drop.
Easier to put more in than it is to take it out. So
exactly.
So, top tip.
Yeah. What are our pour and sipper saying about this one?
Yeah. So we have lots of comments coming. We have James was sort of first off the bat was saying sort of like his first impressions was getting some log fire notes. Malcolm was getting the peat smoke, and that quite often these are the things that jump out the glass first, aren't they? Peat smoke, cured meats, but also some orange, coal tar soap. Yeah, that's a good note.
Coal tar, that's a good one.
Yeah, coal tar soap.
It's like that orange bar of soap. I feel like a miner when I use that.
Okay.
That's more homework for you, Andy. Find out about coal tar soap.
I don't know what that is.
We're too young to know.
Jeff is getting that sort of some damp wood, dried apricots as well, prunes, dark fruits on the tongue. Greg's getting more of the coastal side, some char-grilled ham. Ali's
so for vegetarians as well, you know.
Yeah.
Ali's got gentle peat with some lemon rind. Yeah, gentle burst of peat smoke into chocolate sponge cake with custard. Very good. Nick's saying it'd be perfect to sip in a log cabin getaway. Yeah, some people agreeing, although not just 1 dram of it in that scenario.
Yeah.
I think we should just take all these tasting notes and stick it on the website, because they sound amazing. Apricots, and I'm getting hungry with the notes as well.
There's more. There's, Peter's getting glazed ham, caramelized smoky sugar, maple and bacon. We've got hot butter from Malcolm, like toasted crumpets, but with some salinity, peat and pepper. He's getting some of the sherry, some of the sweetness coming through on the finish. Steve, who is again sort of thinking about fire pits on the beach, but also getting some pear. So yeah, everyone's kind of got the nice cross section of what this is all about.
Yeah, I love that. I tend not to. I do a lot of tastings, and I tend not to sort of talk about either what I think it tastes like or what it tells you on the bottle or the website or whatever. But yeah, I love hearing all those different kinds of notes. It's quite inspiring because it really does bring out. It's a lot of this is to do with what it kind of reminds you of, and certainly when people say it, it does encourage you to kind of, it brings it out on the tongue a little bit. I think the taste buds.
Definitely. I think my notes were similar earlier. I kind of, when I cracked it open, it was almost like you get that sort of frazzles note first, and I was like, oh wow, this is going to be all about that, and then actually it opens up to lots more and brown sugar and earthy notes.
Definitely the kind of that rich berry kind of. A lot of people talk about Bunnahabhain's kind of that Christmas cake. There's a lot of that kind of base with the sort of Oloroso and the sherry. It does certainly give you that base of Christmas fruit cake, and then all these kind of little nuances on top, like the apricot and a little bit of freshness coming through. But one thing that stands out to me is just like a really nice lingering finish. And the more, like I said at the start, the more you taste it, the more it kind of just brings out the sweetness. And I think the smoke just sort of, it just dies down as your palate gets.
I even think on the nose, like the more I nose this, it, like Jake said, like instantly open it up, crack it open, pour it in. Instantly, I'm getting that smoked meat notes, this oily kind of, earthy kind of barbecue smoke note. And the longer this sits in the glass, the sherry is just seems to be rising above of that, and it's becoming a lot sweeter, as Jake was saying, the kind of brown sugar Christmas cake kind of note that's coming through, and that seems to be much stronger, I think, now, and it seems more balanced. The more time this has had to sit in the glass, the more it's just kind of balanced itself out, and those kind of edges have kind of gone down a little bit. I don't know if any of the viewers are thinking that as well. Not that it was bad to begin with, but it's definitely just kind of now just sitting in this really lovely moment for me in the glass, and I'm really enjoying.
Have a good time.
Really enjoying where it's at.
No, it's great. I mean, I think alongside our 12-year-old in our core range, these two whiskies next to each other is just like a great shelf staple to have.
What's your biggest seller?
The Bunnahabhain 12-year-old in terms of our core range. Okay. We've also got the Stewardshire, which you'll see more widely as well. That's our unpeated non-age statement. But in terms of age statements, we've got our Bunnahabhain 12, and then you go through the range.
I think that's what the 12 you can get in. I think I saw in Sainsbury's. You can get in Sainsbury's now.
You can get it at Master of Malt.
Okay. No, I was just saying, it was nice to see it.
Yes, of course, So there's
good whiskey there.
Exactly. Yeah, there's some supermarkets have now got it. So I think it's you go around Scotland and you go into different pubs, and usually you're going to see a Bunnahabhain 12. So it's quite nice to have this alongside it. Obviously, being the peated spirit. Mm-hmm. But if anyone's got the chance to try any of, I think the 18 is an incredible whiskey. Obviously, you're going up in price a bit there. I'm lucky to have a 25 here, which I'm flexing behind me. But there's the 25, 30, 40, which it's so incredible to get to try those. So if you ever get the chance, then definitely jump on that.
Is there anything else exciting coming out in the Bunnahabhain?
This week we just released our Tourist Ma, which is our Feishila bottling. So as a lot of people will know, we've got the Islay Festival coming up at the end of May. So Bunnahabhain Day is it's always the last Friday of the week. Mm-hmm. So for anyone who doesn't know that's maybe getting into whiskey, there's a festival in Islay called Feishila, which means Islay Festival in Gaelic, and each distillery has their own day. And obviously now there's more and more distilleries opening on Islay, and I think they probably should extend the week to a little bit longer. But so Bunnahabhain Day is the Friday, it's usually, fingers crossed, usually decent weather when I've been across for a number of years now. So we have the Tourist Ma, which means good journey or bon voyage. That's our part of our Westering Home collection. So that is a 15-year-old Manzanilla. Definitely try that. And if you are interested in any of those limited edition festival bottles, last year was a beautiful release as well, which was the 14-year-old Ruby Port. So I think there's still a little bit of that left if you can get your hands on it. So that's a really lovely one because it's a mixture of, it's been in 12 years in bourbon and then 2 years in Ruby Port. So in terms of Bunnahabhain being very characteristic of Oloroso sherry, this one is actually quite a a divergence from that, which is
Is
really
it
nice.
usually the festival bottlings that you save for the kind of more experimental cask finishes or things like that?
Yeah, in terms, sometimes we do. Yeah, like certainly in the past few years, we had a canasta before that, so you definitely get a chance to try some more some really interesting casks. So canasta is like a cream sherry, that mix of Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez. So yeah, there's some more experimental stuff in terms of limited editions. And
I'm really not sure I've seen that before.
No, which one?
VJ in the canasta. Is that what you called it?
Oh yeah, canasta. Yeah, so it's quite a rare sherry. There's only one producer that makes it in Jerez. So yeah, it's a stunning release. I think there might be some left if you can find it, but I can't sell it anymore into retailers. But it's incredible. We did have like a 1980 canasta, but that's kind of out of my price range. But that was stunning as well. So it's cool to try. Like it's a non-age statement canasta, but it's one of my favorites. But yeah, definitely have a try of the Manzanilla 15-year-old that's just come out this week. And yeah, that's cool. They're just. I love when the new festival bottles come out, because it leads up to next year, and you're gonna know what the casks are, and yeah, it's cool. But yeah, so I'll be going over to Bunnahabhain in May at the end of this month. So yeah, hopefully it's good weather for that.
Yeah, cool.
Have you guys been over for that at all to Islay?
I've never been for the festival, unfortunately.
No.
Would love to go. I have been.
I have not for many years, and not since. I think quite a lot has happened at your distillery in terms of the shop and the visitor centre and the tasting bar, and I've not seen that. Not been.
The
shop used to be it was like up the stairs.
Yeah.
Bunnahabhain used to be like kind of grey, rough casted walls, and it kind of looked a little bit like a prison. On a dreary day, it certainly was quite grey, and it's got a lick of white paint now, and it's just a beautiful location. We've got the new visitor centre that's right at the shore, and during the festival you see like some fancy boats coming in, and they'll be coming into the pier and taking little boats to come and visit us, and yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I'm a bit biased, but I think that the view is one of the best on Islay, looking out across to Jura. So I think it's an amazing location. So.
I used to kind of like the grey kind of.
It's definitely authentic of
I've heard very good things, and so from what I've seen, it looks fab now. Yeah,
it's really nice. We've got a biomass plant there as well, so it's getting updated with that kind of sustainability element. And
yes, I mean, I was I'm conscious of time, but I think last time we had a Bunnahabhain on, which is 2022. We haven't had one since then. Blimey, I think we did a lot.
Hopefully, you'll have us back again.
I know.
That sounds like forever ago. 2022.
I think we did a few, and then we were running out of sort of ones that we could do in the range. So yeah, it's fantastic to have another one. But that was when you're just sort of getting towards that. We will be net zero in this many months, or this. So you achieved that, right?
Yeah. First net zero on Islay, actually. Yeah.
Net zero distillation.
And I know it's like the equivalent. The biomass plant is equivalent to removing all the vehicles. It saves the amount of carbon emissions that removing all the vehicles in Islay and Jura would equivalent to that. But then I guess
how many vehicles on Jura?
Well, that's the thing. I guess it's like it's not so many. But it's great. It's great having that sustainability element. Like across our range, you've got Deanston as well, which is we've created power there since it became a distillery in the 60s. It was a cotton mill before that. Anyway, I'll not take up more time yapping about the other brands. I'll stick to Bunnahabhain.
Yeah, well, we've had all these brands on before, haven't we?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Have we had Lowrie? We've definitely had Lichig.
Must have done. Yeah.
Must have done. This has been going a few years. I'm sure we've had more.
Yeah. No, it's thanks for having me, and I hope everyone that's on the call is enjoying Toiteach Aga.
We've got.
I can't do it.
I have a couple more comments. Peter Burrett said, "This is my kind of dram: smooth, peaty, slightly sweet, a delightful dram." Got Malcolm Tucker's giving me a bit of stick because he's been entering our competitions, but I love that he's taking his name out. So he's been trying to win some Bunnahabhain bottles.
You know that Malcolm Tucker, the character from The Thick of It.
Yeah,
I've never
that's right, yeah.
I don't know if his name's Malcolm Tucker. That's an amazing name to have. But if he's an aggressive Scottish man on the sip and pour and sip, sorry.
Simon's confirming that we've had 3 different Tobermories.
Oh, there you go. My
there you
memory
go.
is outrageous. I've only been on all of these.
Some members have got their own databases that track all the whiskies that we've had in the club, which is fantastic. Yeah,
fair few that we have tried over the years.
Amazing.
Cool. Let's move on. Thank you very much for joining us, Declan. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely,
guys.
I hope to see you soon. Cheers.
Yeah, I'm not sure there are many vehicles on Jura, Andy. We made the mistake once.
Definitely more deer than vehicles, that's fair.
Yeah, and people. We made the mistake once of getting onto Jura, which there is essentially one road, that's it, with like our petrol running out one year.
Oh, God.
And the petrol station is like a concrete square with like no buildings and just like a really old-fashioned petrol pump in the middle. Right in the center, and just no people or indication of what to do. And it turned out that, well, I guess maybe it's not that surprising because everyone does know everyone there. But we spoke to the distillery manager's brother was the guy who was responsible for the petrol pump that day, or the petrol station or something.
Someone takes responsibility for the petrol.
But he still had to make a phone call to say
Okay.
Yeah, he's a few minutes away. Just hang on.
I would have liked at that moment to have tested. I think it's the RAC who have the advert, which is literally like, wherever you are, we will come to you. And that would have been such a good test to see if it's actually true.
Might have taken them a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Shall we get our final guest up on?
Yeah, let's bring in George.
Yeah, bring in George.
There we are.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. Not too
Bit
bad.
of deja vu.
Bit of deja vu, yeah. Absolutely. We've been here before, done this. Yeah. So, George, for anyone who doesn't know you, talk to us a little bit about yourself and your role at the Kilchoman.
Yeah. So, my name's George. I'm part of the family at Kilchoman. So, it was set up by my parents. My dad takes most of the credit, but my mum should probably take more than she actually does. So, bit of background. Born near Bristol, moved to Scotland. When did we move to Scotland? Now I've got to do some maths. 35 years ago, we moved to Scotland. 30 years ago. I'm bad at maths. And moved to Scotland. My dad was in the wine trade down in England, moved to Scotland and moved into the whiskey industry as an independent bottler. My mum's side of the family are from Islay. And then in 2001, he had the brainwave to move over to Islay and try and build a distillery, which we were all slightly shocked about.
What are you doing?
Completely lost the plot. And we moved over to Islay to build Kilchoman. First distillery to built on Islay for over 124 years. And we soon realised why no one had tried it, because it's not the bed of roses that everyone imagines that building a distillery is. I mean, we sit back now and we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, which is
incredible, right?
Just bonkers. It's bonkers to think that we're there already. And the changes that have happened in the whiskey industry in those 20 years is just phenomenal. New distilleries. I mean, we've got 10 in production on Islay at the moment. There's 2 being built that'll be in production maybe this year, maybe beginning of next year, and then there's talk of another 2 more distilleries being built. So it's just
there's maybe no room anymore.
Well, I mean, I don't want to sound all doom and gloom, but the island can't really cope with it. I mean, is the main thing is ferries, houses, roads, and all that. I mean, it's brilliant. Don't get me wrong, because Islay now is a hive of activity. The average age of the population is coming down because there's all these jobs for the youngsters there, so they're no longer finishing school and disappearing off. They're staying on Islay because they get decent jobs. So it's brilliant in some regards, but other ways It just the island needs to catch up with the infrastructure.
Did you have any idea though at the time when you set up Kilchoman? Because obviously it was like, you know, that's the first distillery on Islay for donkey's years. Did you have any idea that this was coming though?
No.
Exactly. So is it?
I think they're ahead of all the wave across.
Yeah,
whole of Scotland, right? Let alone just Islay, pretty much.
So
I mean, it seems quite good now that you can sit back and say, yeah, no, we saw this was coming, and no, I mean, we were very lucky with the timing.
Yeah.
The idea, the idea to build the distillery and the style of distillery came to him in 2001. We, at the time, we just rented the buildings at the farm, at Rockside Farms. We had a long 100-year lease on a small amount of buildings that we converted into the distillery. We didn't own the land or those buildings. It was only in 2015 that we bought the farm. And we never dreamt that we'd be where we are today. I mean, it's not all been plain sailing. There's been, you know, challenging times, but we've been very fortunate that the whiskey industry has it's changed its sort of views on younger whiskies in that time. When we started releasing 3-year-old whiskey back in 2009 and 10, there wasn't much other young whiskey out on the market. So you go to a show or a tasting and you go, here we go, we've got a 3-year-old, 3.5-year-old and a 4-year-old. People start to look at you sideways. Whereas now I think people are far more open to the idea of trying new spirits, wanting to know, you know, the size, shape of the stills, length of fermentation time. Where do you get your casks from? What percentage do you fill out? And all these things. Whereas before, I think if you go back, you know, only probably 30 years on Islay, the main focus was, well, how much can we produce? Whereas now it's very much, and all these new distilleries that are being built are all producing fantastic spirit because they're going at it in a different way to produce lighter style of spirit. And that was what we wanted to do. We wanted to bring an Islay whiskey to the market, which was peaty, because my dad's favourite dram was Ardbeg. I don't know if it still is. It might well still be an Ardbeg. There's always an Ardbeg in his cupboard. So he wanted that heavily peated style of whiskey, but he wanted it to be lighter, fresher. So his background in cask management and cask selection and blending meant that we had to employ a guy called Dr. Jim Swan, who, genius of a man, probably he never got as much credit as he should have done for what he's done for the industry, especially new distilleries. And he was the one that helped design the shape of our stills, told us to have longer fermentation times, told us to have a higher cut points in the spirit run. So that all these small things help get a lighter style of spirit that showed that peat can be a flavour. I think a lot of people hear Islay peaty whiskey and they go, oh no, I don't do peat. Peat's not for me. Whereas I always think of it like it's like beer or anything, you know. I don't like a heavy beer. Well, you might try a different beer first, or wine, or whatever spirit it is. There's always something out there, and we wanted to show that peat is a beautiful flavour, and if you use it in the right way and use good casks, you can get flavour at a younger age. So that was always the sort of ethos behind what we're doing, and we've grown. The distillery's producing more whiskey now. We're up over 600,000 litres this year. Back in 2004, we produced, 2005, sorry, we filled our first cask. We started distilling in November. So 2006, our first year of production, we produced about 60,000 litres. And each year we've increased production. And in 2019, we put in another pair of stills. So we've got identical pair of stills, 2 pairs of stills in our still house to produce maximum capacity now of just over 600,000 litres.
So it's just
you've always seemed to have had like the next plan for the next. The next
I'm glad you think that, because it's sort of, if you go to the distillery now, you just see where we've sort of bolted buildings onto other bits. And no, I mean, we never thought we'd have to produce more than 200,000 litres of spirit. So we've only increased production when there's been a danger that we would have to allocate our non-limited releases, like our Bunnahabhain and Saneg, batch strength. So the worry was, you know, after COVID times when whiskey sales were rocketing, that we were going to run out of have to limit those. So that sort of drove us to having to increase production again and really push forward. So it's a good problem to have. But I think my dad thought he would be sort of feet up, relaxing, not panicking about these things.
Was there talk of a third pair of stills?
There is talk of a third pair of stills, but that's for another day.
Okay.
I mean, we are in the process of designing how we would do it and how they would fit in, but we're not just going to put them in because we don't sell it to independent bottlers. We keep it all for ourselves. So it's a lot of spirit for ourselves. So we've put that on the back burner at the moment, but we know how we're gonna fit them in if we need to. But it just makes my dad get great
production, right? Not just
yeah. I mean, if we thought of it properly,
yeah.
In 2004, if we actually planned that we might be producing more than 100,000 litres or something, then we might have redesigned the distillery slightly differently. But oh well. I dread to think how much money we've spent on readapting things that we could have done in the early days. But that's not my problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we're up to now, and the whiskey that we've got this evening is our Sané Cask Strength.
Okay.
So Sané is one of our core range products. We launched it in 2016. Bit of sort of background. In 2010, we started releasing whiskey, spring, summer, winter releases, 2010, 2011. And then we needed to come up with a core product that was always available. So Maccabee came out of the back of that, which is predominantly bourbon cask matured. We launched that in 2012. And then in 2016, we needed another core range product to run alongside it. We didn't have the luxury of going, okay, we've got a 10-year-old, we're going to release a 15-year-old, and that's the difference. We always look at cask types and cask maturations and what the wood gives you to the liquid. So Sané, the difference is it's predominantly Oloroso sherry cask matured, hence the lovely rich color that we get from it. And since being launched, the regular Sané in 2016, it's increased in popularity and probably is now more popular than our Maccabee, because with the popularity of sherry and sherry cask matured whiskey and peat especially, it's grown in popularity. And we've always released a Maccabee cask strength around Christmas in previous years, and we always have people telling us that we need to release a Sané cask strength. You need to do it. We need to. So we eventually sort of crumbled under the pressure and went, okay, we've got enough casks that are suitable to use, so we will release a Sané cask strength that we did last year. So essentially, it is the same recipe that goes into the normal Sané, just bottled at 57.8%. So no water added to it at all. We take the casks, we will filter them and bottle them, non-chill filtered. And the way I look at this is, anyone who's tasted our standard Sané, this is it on steroids.
What is the standard Sané bottled at?
46%.
57.8.
57.8, which is high, which is a lot of alcohol. But I suppose that with the more heavily influence of the sherry, so it probably breaks down to about 70% sherry cask influence, 30% bourbon. And we use sherry hogsheads. We get all our sherry casks from Miguel Martin in Jerez, and we always have done. And
because you built up quite a good relationship with them and you trust them.
Yeah, no, we've got a very good relationship. I've not had the invite out there yet, but my dad, he enjoys the trip out there. He says that he'll keep on going out there. So, no, we've got a very good relationship with them, and actually for our, things like we've got to do a bit of a party at the distillery to celebrate 20 years, and Miguel and his family are all coming over and staying with us and things like that. So it's quite nice that they're a family business, but on a slightly different scale to us. So it's nice that we've got that relationship, and it's been going since 2006. We've been working with them, which is brilliant. And the quality of the cask that we get really are highlighted when you do something at cask strength. I feel because you put your nose in there, and I don't feel 57.8% alcohol jumping out the glass.
No.
I get the rich sherry notes, a lot of sweetness coming out. But it's just got this lovely complexity to it on the nose.
Massive dark plum note for me, like huge plums and forest fruit kind of vibe, and with this like wonderful like barbecued ham underneath it, something like that. It's big. This is a big one, and I've tried the snake, and like I said, it's like literally the perfect. It's basically on steroids. Like everything amped up to 11, basically.
No, and it's the sort of, especially on the palate, when you take it into the palate, the weight of it when it hits your tongue, and it's got this lovely creaminess, viscosity to it. It is very full-bodied, but it's also got a bit of vanilla coming through as well, and then it retains the citrus freshness on the balance on the finish. The danger with something like this is it's going to be a massive sherry bomb, and it's gonna. But we want to keep that Kilchoman. I suppose the Kilchoman style is fresh peat, fresh citrus sweet peat. We've not got that too much the iodine heavy oily style. It's more of that higher sort of sweeter style of.
This is definitely not that Lefroy kind of TCB hospital kind of floor kind of note that you get from that, which I love, by the way. Like I'm dissing that at all. I absolutely love that. It's just this is very, very different. It is not that, basically, or your dad's favorite in Ardbeg. It's not like that.
No, it's not. And I think that was always the idea. Was we knew that this was sort of where we wanted to be. We wanted to show that peat can be, this is 50 ppm barley that we've got in here. So that is essentially, for people that aren't aware, is the smokiness of the barley after it's been malted. So how much smoke essentially have you got into the barley? And this is up there with, the Southern Islers, the Lefroy's, Lagavulins, Ardbegs of the world. They're all in the sort of mid to high 50s. We're not quite in the, oh my God, my brain's gone blank now. Not Brooklady, they're, what's the Brooklady?
Octomores, things like that. Yeah, the super mega crazy ones. Yeah,
we're not quite up at that level, but it is heavily peated. But I don't feel it comes across massively.
Not in this one for me at all. Like it's the peat. Like I said, it's really balanced within it. It's this huge dark fruit note for me. It's like plum. It's like this hoisin kind of note, and then this is like a meaty, earthy kind of peat. But it just is so. It's sweet. It smells really sweet, basically.
I think like we've probably got the tasting cards wrong on how smoky this is. I think we did the same thing last year when we had this next to the Mactallow, and we were comparing them. Jeff's just said you'd never believe this was 50 ppm. But of course, that's the malt, and then
that's the malt.
How you then take it from there, and the shape of your still and your cut points that you alluded to earlier. It all makes a difference.
So we take the barley and we push out fermentation to, on average, 87 hours, 87 to 89 hours on average, which is fairly long. I mean, there are distilleries that go further, and there's a lot of distilleries that do it in the 40s. And what that allows us to get is a slightly drier, more acidic wash. It's just slightly lighter. And you charge that to our stills that are small, more copper contact, slow distillation, and I like to sort of, in very simple terms, when we distill, we want to distill like you've got your dish of your pan of water on your cooker, and it's got that perfect boil to it where it's not going nuts. It's just gently simmering away, and you've got the nice vapors. That's what we want, is that nice gentle distillation to help get the lighter flavors from the stills, and that's what we're looking for. The funny thing is that the distillery set up for. This is relatively young, on average 6 years of age in here, in this bottling. And now, we're looking to release older whiskey. I mean, this year we're launching our anniversary series. There's not a huge amount of it, but we've released 20 casks, five releases with 5 casks in each release, 2 14-year-olds, a 15-year-old, and an 18-year-old as a series. And they're all fresh casks. Whereas if we want to do, where is Kilchoman going to be in refill casks? Can we push out that maturation, and how will that change? And that's what we're sort of looking at the moment, is that side of how we can change things. We've done some unpeated, but we're probably not going to go down the heavily peated route. We've got a style, and we think we should stick to it.
That. Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's certainly some love in the comments for everything you do. Jeff is saying that he first visited Kilchoman in 2007. Has been back once and will visit again later this year. Amazing how far the distillery's come. Makia Bay, a wonderful dram, and the Wills family can be very proud. So there you go.
I'm not sure I can take much credit. I'll take a little bit.
Take a bit. Yeah. We've got some people agreeing. Yeah, wonderful distillery. Malcolm was there last year. Anthony and his wife were there and very friendly. This is a lovely dram, even for 57.8%. This is an easy drinker.
Do you add water, George, to this one usually? Or would you?
I haven't tonight.
Yeah.
But I think what I have found in the past, you add a few drops of water, it sort of accentuates the dryness on the finish, brings out the sort of oaky dryness on the finish. But I think I would put this down as a dangerous dram, because you could sit there and have a couple large ones at 57.8%, and you go to stand up and your legs don't quite work the way you thought they should. But no, I mean, I do add water to it occasionally, but it just really depends on how my palate feels at the time, if I'm honest. I mean, I can remember the first time I tasted it, I added water to it. Today, I think maybe because I poured it, and I poured one a little when we first started and had a little one to start with, and then probably my palate's adjusted to the higher ABV. But
I don't know. For me, like, even I don't know if I drink a lot of whiskey, but it feels really balanced and tamed. It's not like hitting me like with this huge, massive kind of like punch, and heat and fire. It's just it sits really nicely. I probably maybe add a cup, like a drop of water, but for me, it's thinking really nicely right now. And it doesn't nose at 57.8, as you were saying either. So it's
if anyone's watching who isn't used to drinking whiskey that's nearly 60%, then
oh yeah, water.
You add some whiskey in.
No, it's such a personal thing. I mean, it's like when people always ask, how should I drink this? I was like, well, I would always recommend, how I've always been told by anyone in the industry, is try it without water, as it is, in the glass, have a little sip. If your palate can't appreciate it, or you just get that fire and heat, a few drops of water will just change it for you. But your friend sat next to you might think the complete opposite. So it's such a personal thing of what you do. Everyone's palates are completely different.
It's kind of the best thing about cask strength whiskey as well, like this, because you can kind of do that yourself. Like know where especially if you buy a bottle, you know where you sit.
You can find the sweet spot for you.
Find a sweet spot for you. Like I tend not to add that much, but it's just that's just me in general. Like I think a lot of people do, and people say, but I mean, it's kind of up to you guys, because everyone always asks that question on here. It's like, where should I add water? How much should I add? And it's kind of up to you. Just add little bit by little bit.
That's it. You can always add a bit more.
Don't run it under the tap. Because
don't run it under the tap and drown it. Just little bits by little bits, and then you'll find where the perfect point is for you.
We've got some more comments. Graham Scott is just saying, off the bat, he was surprised how sweet this was on the first taste. The first thing he noticed beyond the alcohol or the peat. Peter Ray is saying, obviously kind of, pretty smoky, but also getting like the barbecue sauce sweetness again. A little bit of black pepper and chili. Very nice, with a drop of water there. Peter's got it. Malcolm Tucker's getting the beach bonfire smoke, some furniture polish, toffee. The sweetness coming through. David Walcott's getting the barley coming through as well. Some of those other notes.
What was that name?
David Walcott.
David Walcott. Okay. Sorry, I'm hearing
one of our regulars, Andy.
Okay, yeah. No, I heard something else.
Simon is saying deceptive with the strength. Wonderful dram. Oh, St. Aig's a wonderful dram, but this ... which I think is a good thing.
This for me. This is
the only problem when you release something at cask strength out of your core range. People then go, no, you should just do this the whole time.
I feel like it's the same with the Lowrie 10. Like the Lowrie 10's a great dram, but once you try that Lowrie 10 cask strength, usually year after year, you're just like, man, like
different league.
really, really good. But yeah, I think this is the same as well. It's a great dram. This is yeah, it's really, really good. Well done, guys.
A lot more love coming through than Ali saying kind of like he'd have guessed a lower ppm, maybe even like 20 or 30. It's really well balanced, dangerously drinkable is the consensus. And David saying I've already got a bottle of this stupendous dram, so now I'm running the danger of pouring another big slug.
It's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
This is a new Friday. Thursday's a new Friday.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what we've been saying for Pour and Sip for 5 years now, on our Thursday nights. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing stuff. Have you got anything else coming out in the future that we should be excited about?
So we've got the anniversary series that we've launched. We've got, this is information that we only just agreed on about. What time are we on now? 9 o'clock. It's about 6 hours ago. We're going to be doing an age statement, an older age statement, 100% Islay, all sherry cask matures later this year. And the Fèis yield that was talked about before, we're doing another 100% Islay, but we're doing a 10-year-old fully matured in ex-Madeira casks.
Wow. Okay.
And unlike a lot of other distilleries, we're a bit tight. We only release them on the day to people that come to the distillery. So I think there's only 750 bottles or something in that region. It's something that we've always done. So those are the main things that are happening. But apart from that, just still doing what we're doing, and hope people still enjoy our whiskies.
Yeah, which they clearly are by this. And then we'll see the third still at some point in the near
Some point in the
near future.
You see my dad, you've gone completely grey.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much, George, for chatting.
Pleasure.
We'll got 2 more drams. I can't believe after this. I don't think this is one of those ones that I'm like, a follower after this one is tough to be in. But
I want to say for another day, but we'll have a chat about them quickly. Thank you very much, George.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, we didn't really get into sort of floor maltings or anything. They obviously do a lot of that. 100% Islay bottles is 100% Islay grown floor malty stuff.
It's good, but that's fine. We talked about the amazing whiskey that we were drinking, and that was
yes. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, my point is just that the time flies, and there's always so much to talk about.
Time flies when you're talking about whiskey.
Right, Andy.
What are we talking about?
These 2 drams, I mean, they're both ones probably for just slightly different reasons that aren't best to drink after this flight.
No, I was going to say
for another day, but.
After that absolute beast, but it's a good dram if anyone's obviously tried this one before at some point. But Bowmore is one of the most famous on Ireland, one of the most recognizable, a proper icon of Islay whiskey, and the oldest licensed whiskey on the island and distillery on the island, dating back to 1779, which is nuts. It's got a bit of a reputation for being a little bit more elegant and approachable Islay malt, and they obviously have the 12 and the 15 and the 18. You can get those in supermarkets. They're quite easily accessible, and I actually found that I got into peat through the Bowmore 15 because it is quite accessible in that respect. It's not quite as in your face as Lowrie and Ardbeg and stuff, so it does tend to be one that I introduce to people if they want to get into that and they haven't tried anything good. Not as heavily peated as Lowrie and Ardbeg and whatnot, but it still has a kind of that unmistakable kind of coastal smoke with the layers of fruit and spice. This is the 12-year-old sherry cask, which is kind of the signature style of the distillery, richer, deeper, fuller twist from the.
It's kind of this is part of this new range they're doing, isn't it? The Sherry Oak collection.
The Sherry Oak collection. That's exactly.
Yeah. There's 12, 15, 18.
Yeah, they seem to like those numbers. This was the 12, 15.
No, I know. I'm trying to think. There's 4 of them now.
4. Okay, I didn't realize it was 4.
But they're either this one's sherry and bourbon cask, but then with an additional sherry finish, which for the 15-year-old, it always had a bit of sherry in it. Used to be called the 15 Darkest, but this is more sherry because it's got an additional finish of all the whiskey in there as well.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that Bowmore also, like Kilchoman, had their own floor malting still.
Yes,
it's absolutely worth noting. But it's definitely using a peat level that's lower than Kilchoman. I don't know quite actually what the exact is, but I'm assuming it's something in the 30s or 40s. But this is a really good one. Highly recommended. I will be drinking this as well in my own time as well, especially after that Sine. So guys, please drink this when you feel you're ready to drink this. You don't have to drink it now. Yeah.
David's saying the classic Bowmore 12 has always been his go-to for an oyster luge.
A what?
An oyster luge.
What's an is that
having an oyster?
You have
a very elaborate way of eating an oyster.
Okay.
I like the idea that it's that.
Sounds very medieval, like I don't know what you're doing in these oyster luges. It almost does. But anyway, but yeah, you could do that if you like with your oyster luges. But I actually had a dram of a very old Bowmore outside the distillery on the seaside, by the beach outside the distillery, and it was one of my favourite memories of being on Islay, I have to say, because it's beautiful there. Yeah, you can the 12, the 15, and the 18 standards, and this is the new ones. They're just all really good drams to get into PT whiskey, I would say. And sometimes they get a bit of a bad rep.
Distillery is right there on the at the edge of the small town, but the waves are literally hitting the
amazing place to be. And I sat there drinking some old school, like I can't remember what it was like the 60s.
Fantastic.
Bowmore is just sitting there on the seaside looking with the waves crashing over you, feet in the water. Like honestly, like take me back there.
Ready for something completely different?
Yeah, exactly. Ready.
So then we have the curveball in the box, I guess. An Indian whiskey.
We always throw a curveball. We always throw a curveball
in there. Yeah. And we've had a couple of Indian whiskies in Pour and Sip before. I think we had an Amrut and a Paul John, which, this is kind of a newer brand, but it's owned by Diageo India. Godawan, who they had a limited 100 bottle release recently. Was named best single malt at the 2024 London Spirits competition. So that's pretty impressive, I guess. This one is fruit and nut. It's called. It's got a cherry wood finish, which is kind of unusual because you can't not use oak in many whiskey heartlands like Scotland and America. And they're also doing things like they've got botanicals in their casks before they put the whiskey in, but not, I think, with any of the stuff that's being released in the UK. But that's some of the interesting kind of stuff they're playing with.
It's kind of that cool thing, isn't it, about not having those regulations?
It's it's like at what point does it stop being a whiskey?
But
it's interesting. And obviously, you're trying to mature whiskey in India. Climate is just a massive factor. Enormous angel share, huge interaction with the wood, huge temperature fluctuations, different humidity. So in a short space of years, you're getting these quite intense interactions with caskets. So I think this one's an average of 5 years. It's also kind of got a purpose because it's for the conservation of the great Indian bustard as well. One of the largest flying birds in the world. There you go.
There you go. That's a good cause. I've not heard. I hadn't heard of this at all before. It's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to trying this one.
Yeah, it's quite cool. We got obviously the Kilchoman's not been out for too long. The cask strength. We've got that new Bowmore, which again is a new part of a new range. And then this is kind of a new whiskey brand. So
there you go. 3 new ones to try. The Pour and Sippers to try.
Coolio, shall we bring back our friends?
Should we do it? Yeah, let's get the gang back together.
Put the gang back together, yeah.
There he is, Declan. It's been ages. George, it's been ages, man.
It's been a long time.
Such a long time. Thank you. Welcome back, guys. Tried much Indian whiskey at all? Anyone here?
Yeah, I'm trying this Godawan now, and I'm very honestly surprised by it. And
I always forget if we can. Have you guys got the boxes? Because I always don't.
They do,
want to
yeah.
ask.
They've all got the boxes.
You all got the boxes. Okay, cool. Have you? Yeah, fantastic. Okay, cool. Now I can ask the question. What did you think of it?
I love it. I think it's great. I mean, we've tried using cherry casks before to no great. Like, something that we were going to write off as, a spirit drink, but it didn't work for us. It didn't work for a spirit, but this is it's really good actually.
Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? It's
It's
like
really interesting.
malt loafy, almost ale-like. I thought, sort of, kind of. What else have I put down here? Walnutty. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I commend you for jumping into that after some of these peaty drams.
yeah.
It kind of reminds me of, like, recently I found I was at a festival over in Germany, and there was a Swedish whiskey there, Agitator, and they were using, like, I think it was chestnut and maple syrup casks and things like that. So I love all the, like, experimental woods and different things like that.
I tried that. That was actually really nice. The chestnut.
Yeah.
Really nice. Right. So a couple of things. So for pour and sippers, as always, I think this has been a really, it's, as always, it's not easy, this one. What's been your favorite from the box tonight? Really tough one. All our guests have stuck around, so they will be livid if you don't choose theirs as the favorite. So please let us know, and we'll give you some time now whilst we ask our guests some other questions. Guys, I'm going to ask a really weird question, and it might take you a little bit of time to think about it. But if your whiskey was a band or a musician, would it be? I'll give you time to think about it while I talk to Jake. Have a think. It's a cool question.
I missed that. Sorry, I'll assume it was an insane question.
Great question. It's a great question. It's a
well, I can sort of cover some other orders of business while they're having a think. The oyster luge.
Oyster luge. Okay. Yeah.
The oyster luge is the act of drinking a spirit, typically Scotch, direct from an oyster's shell.
Okay.
The flavours of the Scotch mingling with the oyster's brine, creating a mixture that's salty and smoky. There you go.
I've only ever tried an oyster once in my whole life, and it was during a tasting with Talisker. So it was like Talisker and oysters. It was the only time ever.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it did make sense. It was really, really nice, but I've never ever tried an oyster other than that. Maybe I need to.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was great. And I just need to get luge.
I'm a vegan, so I don't bloody know. Did you tell me?
I need to get luging at some point. I don't know. Is that a verb? So yeah. Okay. Right, Declan. Starting with you.
Oh no.
Yeah, come on.
Marketing team are not going to be happy if I don't give the right answer or something.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Well, I initially thought, obviously, Scottish. It needs to be a Scottish band. Yeah. I really like a band from Glasgow called Mogwai.
I love Mogwai.
With, like, kind of the undertones that kind of, with this one, that Toiteach is quite smoky. It's quite atmospheric. It's quite moody. And I think a lot of Mogwai songs can be that way, kind of like, and it builds up, so we're talking about the dram, going through the dram, and it's smoky and it's opening up new flavors. I think with Mogwai songs, you get a lot of them ambient sounds coming through. And
Declan, you've smashed that out the park.
I was on the spot.
On
the spot. Wow. Sweating here.
Jack, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, Mogwai is a great shout. I think
well, he's never even heard. I'm just Mogwai for me. All Mogwai all day long. No, what about you, Jack?
I'd love to say something like, Prince, unbelievably talented and just very, very sexy. But I think it's probably some obscure Japanese noise band from the 70s that never made it.
Merzbow. There you go. That's my Japanese noise artist for you there. Made unbelievable Japanese noise music, which was completely unlistenable.
Not sure that's exactly what he's going for, Andy.
Completely unlistenable. Okay, no, I like it. George, how about you?
See, I'm thinking of someone like Trail West, that Scottish band that with traditional music with a bit of a twist, probably similar to what we've done as far as traditional style of distillery with a slight twist as far as bits and pieces that we do.
Oh, that's cool.
That's my brain working really quickly and panicking.
Yeah. I've never heard of them, so there you go. I need to go out and listen to.
They play a lot of the Fèis. They come over to the Fèis and play a lot of all the distilleries and things like that.
Okay, cool. All right. I'll give
I was thinking
Nice.
for.
Well, you've all done very well with Andy's
That's
horrible
not. It's a
question.
great question. I'm sticking with it, and I'm asking all our guests from the future. I thought about it. It's a great question. I'm asking all our guests, and if you want to pre-prepare them, Jake, you can. But I'm doing it from the future.
One way to watch people panic.
Yeah, literally. I love it. Here
See
in
the
their
eyes
face.
go.
It's like they've just been talking about whiskey, and suddenly they get a question. Oh God, no.
I think with the Thompsons one,
Yeah.
it's SRV, and I'm a guitar player. I like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. See,
I was thinking bluesy.
Yeah. Is that what was named after Steve Ray? It would have been good if it was.
I actually googled what it meant when you were talking. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to change the name of that one.
All right, Jake. What are our users? Users? I've been talking.
Users? Our members have got some comments coming in. Pexman saying it's a great box as usual. Thank you. Kilchoman by the thinnest of whiskers, and they are saving the extra two drams for Eurovision. Don't ask, they say.
Has that not been? Has it been? No. Oh God, no. Because we. Okay. Yes. Yeah. No.
Kilchoman says Ali C, but I can't decide between the other two. SRV would be great to offer to folk who think they don't like peat. Yeah, it's that little
liquid peat. Really.
Little hint there, just Simon Kilchoman for me this week. Stunning box all round. I think that's the theme here. Greg, it's got the Kilchoman. All three were very lovely. Steve Cooper's got your back, Andy. He says that's a great question.
Steve Cooper, thank you. You're going to have everyone there. It's our listeners and watchers. They can also viewers. They can members. You can also chime in with what you think as well. I mean, here, let's get your bands in. What are these whiskies representing? Come on.
Yes. We've got Malcolm, David, and Peter all going for just the Kilchoman, but saying only just very, very hard to choose again. Nick Tarrant got a bit of love for the Godawan. I need to try that properly. I think on another day. It was very interesting from what I had earlier. Peter Ray, brilliant box. Very hard to pick a favourite. But for me, I think it's the Bunnahabhain. There you go. We've got what Jeff says. One of my favourite bands is Future Islands, who could be called Future Island.
Do you not remember Future Islands on the David Letterman show? The singer who had the weird dance. If you haven't seen it, go and type into YouTube Future Islands David Letterman, because it's the best thing ever. It's a great tune anyway, but the singer's got the most mad dance moves, and it's definitely worth a watch on YouTube. If
Jules Holland's a good one for that as well.
Was it? Yeah, Jules Holland. Was it Jules Holland? Yeah, that was the one. Okay.
Well, when I saw them on that, I was like, wow.
Yeah. It's a great tune anyway, but the guys.
It's a good dance for after a dram as well.
It's a good dance for after a dram for sure. Okay. See, I'm like they want to get involved now. It's a great question.
There's a few more people saying that just a great box, just a lot of love for all of them, and Jeremy Anson specifically said to give a special mention to tonight's guests for bringing the cool vibe to the industry.
There you go, guys. Cool vibes for all rounds. Yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, yes. I've never had that before. This must be the coolest pour and sip panel we've had. Yeah, is that it?
Yeah, I think. I mean, obviously. As much as Andy's trying to push business to supermarkets, these are all available in our Pour and Sip store with the usual Pour and Sip special discount for members. So
supermarkets, it's all rubbish. Yeah, it's a Pour and Sip store. That's where you should be going, and you'll get your members' discounts. That's the whole point. It's part of this little club that we're in, and we get members' discounts on great drams like these.
Steve has a question. Apologies, Steve, who also enjoyed the Godawan. He is asking, are all peaty whiskies smoky, or can the two things be separate? I personally don't. Well, I can't stand drinks tasting like cigarettes. Yeah, that's what he said. So yeah, can peat and smoke be two different things? Who wants to field that?
I would say they can.
Complex question.
I would say you get different style. Smoke always feels a mouth feel. So you imagine, taking in smoke. It's always more of a subtle style. Like peat can be a little bit more direct.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
that was my 10 pence.
Yeah, it's a cool question.
Any advances, Declan?
Yeah, I
or-
certainly agree. Like, I think it's the style of how it's peated and where the peat's from and how long how long it's peated. And I think with, like you're talking earlier about our Leitchig's a very different kind of smoke to our Bunnahabhain. Same for if you're trying whiskies from Speyside that are peated, it's got quite a different character. So yeah, certainly, I would say that they can be different kinds of smoke, but it's certainly finding the right one for you.
Yeah.
And what do you think, from a blender's perspective? Do you think about peat and smoke in different terms?
Yeah, no,
Jack?
I'd agree with that. I mean, for me, smoke is a sensation, whereas peat is indicative of the raw ingredient kind of thing. And I think a few years ago, the industry was quite, maybe there were some culprits behind this, but obsessed with thinking about terroir in whiskey. And I think the only way you could ever speak about terroir in whiskey is when you talk about peat. Otherwise, it's difficult to really place it. But there's a big difference between if it's cut in Orkney or if it's cut in Islay, and I think that's really interesting. So yeah, dig a bit deeper, pardon the pun, and you'll find the flavor. And that's that's for me. That's what peat is. And
Yeah,
smoke is this wonderful backbone to whiskies, but peat is substance and flavor.
I think people tend to say smoke though when they think of just like a whiskey that is peated. It's just like in generically, people would say it's smoky. I don't like smoky whiskies. Peat can be different, just literally geographically. Like Highland peat is going to be very, very different to Islay peat and give a whiskey a completely different flavor profile.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I enjoy a whiskey that feels like you've been, dragged through a bunch of seaweed and bladderwrack and whatever else.
I loved the Lowrie marketing campaign, the adverts that they used to have at the cinema, where it was just like listing all the horrific tasting notes that you could think of, like TCP, wet fish, all of these kind of things. It's like nice kind of things, and they would just list them and go, "You want to try this?" And I think it was an awesome marketing campaign for like peaty kind of whiskey.
But equally, it can be, like the heather from Orkney, like Jack said, or essentially you are burning organic matter and smoke getting on the barley, though, right? So it's hard to avoid the smoke entirely,
Exactly.
perhaps. But, interesting
question.
It's a good question. Yeah.
All right.
Steve Cooper saying, my first pouring sip in a while. I forgot how much I love it. Thank you all. Yes, we've got people saying, yeah, Isla rocks. Thank you to all our guests. Ali saw the Pixies in Edinburgh last night, so that's awesome. Another great night, great speakers. Thanks, everyone. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, all our guests and all of you at home.
We'll see you next month on the...
Yes, bear with me 1 second. It will be Andy and Jess on June the 12th.
We will see you all then. And thank you again to all our guests. And we'll see you on June the 12th. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. I don't know.
Cheers.